السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So we stopped in the 4th year of prophethood. As you have noticed before, we used to count the years according to the age of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said when he was 25, he got married. Then when he was a few years after that, he got his first son, then daughters. And then when he was 35, what happened? And then when he was 40, he became a prophet. But from then on, now we start using the calendar from the day of prophethood. So we say in the 2nd year of prophethood, 3rd year of prophethood, 4th year of prophethood. So we stopped at the 4th year of prophethood, when the call of Islam had become outward, meaning public. It's not a secret anymore. And most of the people of Mecca, they had come to know about this new religion. Now obviously it was not welcomed, because human beings, we die hard with our habits. So a society which had been engrossed deep into worship of idols, for them to be told all of these idols, they're false gods, and throw all of them away, just worship one Allah. For them it was something incomprehensible, like they could not take it. Let alone the social vices, evil habits which they had, drinking alcohol, dealing in riba, oppressing the poor and the weak, killing their own daughters alive, and sometimes even the sons. So it was not all rosy and dandy acceptance or welcoming of Islam. So when the da'wah or the call to Islam started to be public, obviously the hostility was also public. When the Prophet ﷺ started calling people publicly, openly, those who did not like his call so much, they started to oppose him publicly. We mentioned how they came together to make a meeting to discuss how they can discredit him. They said a poet, they said no, people know he's not a poet, and his words don't match our poetry. They said a soothsayer, kahin, they said no, he doesn't speak like one, and people know him. They said crazy, they said no, he's the best of us, how can we call him crazy? Then they said sahir, he's a magician. I said no, nobody's going to accept that, because he never practiced magic. But Al-Walid bin Mughira, who's the leader, he said, that is the one which could actually work, because he splits or he separates between husband and wife, father and mother, sons and daughters. This one is a Muslim, this one has not accepted Islam, and there's a split between them. And that is exactly what magic does, or one type of magic actually. So we can say it's just another type of magic. Now, I mentioned also how the Prophet ﷺ, he used to take advantage of the Arabs who used to come to Mecca, because remember, Mecca is the center of all Arabia. Either they would come for Hajj, or they would come for the 3 major marketplaces of Arabia: Uqad, Dhul Majaz, and Al Majannah. So now he has an audience who has never heard his message. The Arabs from the Badia, the desert, So he would go out, the Prophet ﷺ, and speak to them. And what was his call? What would he speak to them about? What was the main message? One thing only. He did not say to them, don't drink alcohol. He did not say that. He did not say, come, be a party member. Let me get your SIN number and register you. No. He did not say, I'm planning a coup d'etat. It's about the only French I know, actually. No, he did not say any of that. He said, come, worship one Lord, Allah alone, because that's the most logical thing, number one, and I have proofs to prove it. Who created you? They would say Allah. Who created the heavens and the earth? The Arabs would say Allah. He would say, then why do you worship something else? It's simple. Some things are so simple that the Arabs, they say, if you want to explain the sun which is shining up there to someone, that is the most impossible task. How do you explain the sun? It is the clearest thing in this world. And that is just like explaining to someone there's only one God. You are created to believe that since the day you are born. So the Prophet ﷺ, he is going to meet people in the marketplaces, meet people who come for Hajj. But obviously, the Quraysh, and in particular his own uncle, Abu Lahab, and then Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl is not his uncle, but they're still related. At the end of the day, we said what? They're all from Quraysh. Quraysh had those 14 tribes or clans. In the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, Rabi'a ibn Ibad, he says, I saw the Prophet ﷺ in Jahiliyyah before I was Muslim, in the Suq of Dhul Majaz, in the marketplace called Dhul Majaz. And he was saying to the people, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. Say la ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. وَيَدْخُلُ فِي فِجَاجِهَا وَالنَّاسُ مُقْتَصُّونَ عَلَيْهِ. And he, the Prophet ﷺ, he would enter into the marketplaces, the rows or the aisles. Today if you go to Metro, Walmart, wherever you shop at, you ask, where's the ice cream? They say aisle number, usually 7 actually, it's at the end. Right? So every market is arranged like that. If you go to a flea market, I don't know if you have flea market in Ottawa. You don't have. No, are you serious right now? You don't have a flea market. Oh, okay, it's just for the poor people in Toronto. Okay. You don't know what a flea market is? How am I supposed to explain a flea market? Basically, it's just a huge warehouse.
It's because it's 2 times a year, and it's like at their house. Like you go to the street and then.
Okay, not that, but that's a flea market. I'm talking about a space like this, and they cut into small stalls, and everybody's selling whatever they sell. This one sells watches, this one sells those shoes, this one sells whatever clothes. Okay, very good. Buy what market? You guys have buy what market? I forgot, sorry. It's arranged in aisles, rows. This one sells tomatoes here, this one sells clothes here, whatever they sell. The Prophet ﷺ would walk in between everyone to meet everyone. And he would be saying these words. Say la ilaha illallah tuflihu, you shall succeed. Obviously he was not saying like I'm saying it to you. He was saying it to non-Muslims, so he was saying it in the best way. And he was the best person in manners. Now I want you to pay attention. I'm going to come back to explain the hadith. All he used to say is, say la ilaha illallah, tuflihu, you shall succeed. Rabi'a, he says, I saw him walking in between the aisles, وَالنَّاسُ مُقْتَصُّونَ عَلَيْهِ, and people are amazed by him. People were amazed by him. Why were they amazed? Why were they amazed? because of who he was, number one. We said he was the most handsome human being ever created. If you saw him from far, you'd want to come close. If you saw him from close, you'd love him right away. Once you met him, you'd never want to leave. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then he's saying these words which make sense. And the Arabs never heard these words for the last 1,000 years maybe. Say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. People were amazed by him. And no one was saying anything. And he was not keeping quiet, he kept repeating those words. Say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. Except that I saw a man walking behind him. And this man was Ahwal. Ahwal is squint-eyed. And his face was radiant, bright. Abu Lahab. That's why he's called Lahab, because Lahab is a flame of fire, because it is bright. And this man, he would follow him behind whenever he, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. This man who was behind him, he would say, Innahu sabi' kadhib. He is a sabi', he is a liar. Whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed, the man kept following him. He is a sabi', he is a liar. I said until I found it strange. So I asked, who is this? They said, this is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is his uncle Abu Lahab. This is Muhammad and that is his uncle Abu Lahab. Now, just a few points on this hadith. Number one, the Prophet ﷺ said to them what? Say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. But I'm going to ask you a question. If you just said La ilaha illallah, are you going to succeed today? If you said it to a non-Muslim, basically, say La ilaha illallah, you shall succeed. Yes? Who says no? We have yes. Who says no? Yours is no? Why not? Because they don't know how to pray. Okay. But remember we said people are not praying yet. Who says no? Sister at the back. Because they have to believe in it. They actually understood. This is just a point I want to emphasize. They understood when you actually say it, it's not just saying it. You're actually declaring. I declare this is what I believe now. Because La ilaha illallah, just a statement, will not benefit you. It will not benefit you. Remember the munafiqun, the hypocrites, which will come after in Medina. They used to say La ilaha illallah, but they never believed in it, so it won't help them. So they understood the Arabs. He means, let's declare now. No more Lat, Uzza, Manat, Hubal, all these idols, no more. Just Allah, La ilaha illallah. Okay, so the statement by itself is actually not just a statement, it's actually to believe in it. It actually starts from the heart. You make a statement with your heart and say, I believe in this, and then you say it with your tongue. That is why someone who cannot speak, what do we call someone who cannot speak in English? What do you call someone who cannot hear? Deaf. Someone who cannot see. Someone who cannot speak. Huh? English, I said. Who knows this side? Mute, the actual English word is dumb. We use the word dumb to mean other things today, someone who's not proper thinking in his mind, whatever. But the actual word is dumb. English, if you go up in the dictionary today, dumb is someone who cannot speak. Now we say mute also. Someone who's mute and they believe in La ilaha illallah, do we accept their Islam even though they cannot say it? La ilaha illallah? Of course, and that is the point. So La ilaha illallah, the statement was not just a statement. Let it come from the heart. And he gave them the results of that. If you do this, tuflihu, you shall succeed. Now remember, these are the lowest of the lowest at that time. We said they were never conquered, the Arabs. Why? Why were they never conquered by the Persians and the Romans? Because they had nothing. People used to pass by them and say, okay, pass quickly actually, don't even stop here. They were nothing. They were nothing. So now the Prophet ﷺ is saying to them, Tuflihu, you shall succeed. They were amazed. We shall succeed? We need to listen to this. But did they understand the meaning of La ilaha illallah? What is the meaning of La ilaha illallah? There's no God who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. How do you say that in Arabic? La ma'buda bihaqq illallah. So why is he just saying La ilaha illallah? Why when someone becomes Muslim today, you just say to him, say La ilaha illallah, that's it. Because they understood it. They did not need an explanation. Sadly, us Muslims today, we need explanation. But them, Abu Lahab, no, that's the reality. They understood. When he says, say La ilaha illallah, it means there's no ilah. Ilah is the deity who's worshipped. It means throw away everything and everyone else and only worship Allah. That is why sooner we're going to see, they used to say, as in Surah 2, is it Swad or Safat? أَجَعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدٍ إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عُجَابٌ. What surah is that? Safat or Swad? Swad? He is making all these gods to disappear to be just one God. This is something strange, amazing. إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عُجَابٌ. So they actually understood what is La ilaha illallah. It means do not worship anyone but Allah. And you're going to succeed. And do not just say it as a statement of the tongue, it has to come from the heart, it's a belief. So people are amazed by him. Who is this guy? And he himself, Allah prepared him. He is the most handsome human being, the most truthful. He has the best words. People are amazed, flocking around him. And then there's this guy behind him who says, don't believe him. He is a sabi'. I use this word in its original Arabic because it's going to come a lot. A sabi' is a derogatory term which the disbelievers of Mecca used to use or label anyone who became Muslim. Sabi'. What is the original meaning of sabi'? Basically, they used to use it to mean someone who changed his religion. Someone who changed his religion. But it's not a good word. They used to use it in the negative meaning of it. So they used to call anyone who became Muslim sabi'. Type is going to come a lot in the Seerah, so you gotta get used to it. This man is walking behind him, squint-eyed, face very bright and radiant. He's saying, he is a sabi', he is a kadhib, he's a liar, don't listen. Rabi'a, he says, I went there to do business. He's not a Muslim. He says, I found that strange. So I asked, who's this man? They said to me, this is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And who's this guy walking behind him? They said, this is his own uncle, the brother of his father. Now that is the strangest picture you can see. And Rabi'a, after he became Muslim actually. After he became Muslim. So he was telling this story in hindsight. He said, you should have seen me on that day. Also, from the ways which they used to be hostile and fight the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or before that, we see how the Prophet ﷺ used to work a lot in giving da'wah. And I'm repeating again, it is a tribalistic society. In a tribalistic society, if the leader stands up, everybody stands up. If the leader sits down, everybody sits down. So, the strategy was, if the leaders, they were to accept Islam, the followers will just follow. If Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and Umayyah bin Khalaf and Walid bin Utbah and Shayba, if all of them became Muslim, 10, 15 men, all of Makkah would have become Muslim. So one day while the Prophet ﷺ, they actually stood and gave him time to listen. They actually did that. Remember, they would never accept him to talk to them, let alone talk to other people. They actually stood and they were listening to him. And the Prophet ﷺ was talking to them. Al-Walid ibn Mughira, the one who made the decision, let's call him a magician, remember. And then you had Utbah and Shaybah, the two sons of Rabi'ah, Utbah bin Rabi'ah and Shaybah bin Rabi'ah. He was talking to them, explaining Islam to them, softening them up. While he was doing this, there was a man who was coming from the other side stumbling. You know what stumbling is, right? Meaning walking but not walking properly because he cannot see the way. Because this man, he was blind. Now he's blind, he cannot see. But he was told, Muhammad, the Prophet ﷺ is there. And he comes while the Prophet ﷺ is talking to these very important people. And this man, he was blind, but he was a Muslim already. His name is Abdullah ibn Maktum. Abdullah ibn Maktum. He came because he's blind, he doesn't know what's going on. He just was looking for the Prophet ﷺ. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, أقرئني القرآن علمني مما علمك الله. Teach me the new Quran which came. Teach me the new Quran which came. But the Prophet ﷺ is in a very important meeting. So the Prophet ﷺ, he turned from him. He saw him coming, he heard him, and they looked also. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. They used to say to the Prophet ﷺ, what? If you want us to listen to you, chase these weak people away. We cannot sit with them. So now they actually give him an audience, and then Ibn Maktum is coming. So they all looked at him, then the Prophet ﷺ, he made a judgment just like all of us would make the same judgment. He said, Ibn Maktum in his mind, he's a Muslim, alhamdulillah. He just wants to learn what is the new Quran. These people, they never even listen to me. And if they become Muslim, everyone becomes Muslim. So he turned away from him and kept talking to these three people. And the man, because he was blind, he kept repeating his words. He doesn't know. Until the Prophet ﷺ, he was discomforted. He did not find it nice. He did not find it nice. He turned away from him. And his facial expression showed that he was not comfortable. Once he did that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran right away to him. The surah which we read until today, until the day of judgment, is called Surah Abasa. Surah Abasa from verse 1 to verse number 14. Abasa wa tawalla. His face turned and he turned away. Why? An ja'ahu al-a'ma, because the blind man came to him. And then what? An ja'ahu al-a'ma. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. Allah says to His Prophet, how do you know? Maybe he will get more purification of his heart. أَوْ يَذَّكَّرُ فَتَنْفَعَهُ الذِّكْرَ. Or you'll remind him and that reminder will benefit him. And then what? أَمَّا مَنِ اسْتَغْنَى. As for these people who feel they don't need you in the first place, استغنى, they're self-sufficient. فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ. أَمَّا مَنِ اسْتَغْنَى. Now, فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. You are paying attention to them. What about them though? فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى. If they don't purify their hearts, they don't accept your deen, Islam, there's nothing wrong on you. You have done your job. وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى. But for this one who comes to you, he is rushing. Like I said, he was stumbling because he was blind, miskin. He is rushing to come learn something. وَهُوَ يَسْعَى. وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, while he fears Allah. فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَاهَا, you turn away from him. Allah says, كَلَّا, do not do that. إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ, it is just a reminder. Whoever wants will accept. This was revealed for him, Abdullah ibn Maktum. And the Prophet ﷺ, he was directed and disciplined by Allah. And that is a great lesson to all of us. That's why we still read that Quran until today. What is the lesson here? Teach and give your attention and time and strength and focus to those who want it. Those who don't want it, it's not your responsibility anymore. You have called them to the truth, they rejected, that's it. Whether they are rich or poor, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That was the lesson the Prophet ﷺ was taught and us. Just like after the Prophet ﷺ has been taught and all of us, فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى, remind when the reminder is beneficial. If someone you know, you talk to him 1,000,000 times, they never want to listen, don't talk to them. That's what the Quran says. But someone who wants to listen, you should go to him. Now there's a weak hadith which says after that, whenever the Prophet ﷺ would see Abdullah bin Maktum, he would stand up and say, Marhaban billadhi a'tabani fihi Rabbi. Welcome to the one whom my Lord disciplined me because of him. That is not a true hadith. But Abdullah ibn Maktum, he is special. And this shows you that in Islam there's no ostracization, there's no, what is the word? Discrimination because of a physical handicap. No, that's not Islam. Look, this man was blind. And Allah revealed 14 verses which we will read and until the day of judgment about him. And you know who he was after that? He was the official mu'adhin of the Prophet ﷺ. He was the one who used to call the adhan for the Prophet ﷺ. Abdullah ibn Maktum. The Prophet had 3 mu'adhin, 3 callers of adhan. Number 1, Abdullah ibn Maktum, he would call the first adhan, and then Bilal would call the second adhan for Fajr. And then you also had who? Who was the third one? Naam? La. And all of us know about Bilal and Abdullah ibn Maktum. The third one is called Abu Mahdhura. Abu Mahdhura. Abu Mahdhura is the third mu'adhin of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, to show you how special he was, there's a hadith reported by Hakim from Muslim ibn Subayh. He says, one day I went to visit Aisha radiallahu anha. And I saw there was an old man sitting there and he was blind. And Aisha had an orange which she was cutting. She was cutting the orange and there was honey there. And she was giving this old man the orange to eat with the honey. So I asked, who's this man? Ya al-Mu'mineen, O mother of the believers. Who's this guy? And she said, radiallahu anha, Hada ibn Maktum. This is Ibn Maktum, the one who, when he came to the Prophet ﷺ with him was Utbah and Shayba bin Rabi'a. He turned away and Allah revealed Abasa wa Tawalla. That is how much they used to respect him. Abdullah ibn Maktum is the one who came, later on we're going to see, in Medina now, after 10 years from today, when the Muslims are told now you can go out and fight. He came and he said, O Messenger of Allah, I need to go fight. And Allah revealed the verse, or the verse is in Surah At-Tawbah, لَيْسَ عَلَى الْأَعْمَى the one who's blind, the one who's sick, the one who's too old. There's no sin on them if they don't go out to fight. They're excused. But he kept emphasizing, and in the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu, he actually went out in the battle of Qadisiyah, and the day he went out, he actually wore his shroud, his kafan, and he was killed as a shaheed. This is his long story made short. His long story made short. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was trying his best to get to the Quraysh of Makkah. No, not now, please.
Very important. One time the Prophet went for a battle and he let them in.
I said this is the long story made short. I'm going to get there. We are going to go to Medina soon, inshallah. All of us. Through the story. Right? Yes, the Prophet, to show you how important he was, when the Prophet ﷺ, is not once by the way, more than once, when he used to go out in his expeditions, he needs to put someone in charge of Medina. And Ibn Maktum will be the leader of all Medina, even though he was blind. More than once it happened. So the Prophet ﷺ, he tried his best to call the leaders of Quraysh, but most of them, they kept refusing, and we saw how only those who are weak and poor, they accepted the message. And we mentioned why yesterday. Also from the ways which they used to fight Islam and to deter people from the truth, they would want to do al-mudahana. Now al-mudahana is one of the things you can't translate in English. You just have to explain it. Basically, they would want to meet halfway. They would want to meet halfway. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says this in Surah Al-Qalam, Noon, وَالْقَالَمَ مَا يَسْتُرُونَ مَا أَنْتَ بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ بِمَجْنُونَ. You, by the favor of your Lord, you're not crazy. Remember, they used to call him crazy. Allah says, you're not crazy, don't worry. And then what? وَإِنَّ لَكَ لَأَجْرًا غَيْرَ مَمْنُونَ. And you shall have a reward which is never ending. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And you are upon a great character. Up to where Allah says in the 9th verse, وَدُّوا لَوْ تُدْهِنُوا فَيُدْهِنُونَ. They love this disbelieving Quraysh that you will do mudahana and they will do mudahana. What is mudahana? They say to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day they came to him, they said, listen, you're causing problems now. You're talking bad about our gods. Why don't you do this? 1 year we'll become Muslims with you, worship only Allah. Next year though, you and your followers will be on our religion. Year after, all of us will be Muslims again. The coming year, all of you will be on our religion. And we'll balance out. Integration. Compromise. Jazakallah khair. Who said compromise? MashaAllah. That is the word. That is what they came and asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now some of us, because of our weak iman, to say, it actually makes sense. 1 year we don't wear hijab. 1 year we put on full niqab, inshallah, with gloves and socks and black shoes. I'm not making fun, I'm just trying to make a joke. 1 year we don't pray salah completely, we're not even Muslims. Next year we're best Muslims. That's why they came and asked him. Allah says, وَدُّ لَوْ تُدْهِنُوا فَيُدْهِنُونَ. That is why Allah said after that, وَلَا تُطِعْ كُلَّ حَلَّافٍ مَهِينٍ. Do not obey them. So it is one of the ways they used, and it's one of the ways people use today. You see, you can call yourself Muslim, we don't have a problem with that. But this thing of you have to pray 5 times a day, it takes away from our corporate goals. This thing of you are Muslim woman, you have to put on your hijab and come to work. You don't have to. As soon as you enter the office, just take it off. What's wrong with that? They want you to compromise because they'll never be pleased with what Allah revealed. Sadly, that is life we live today. Maybe not all of us, but some of us. It is also said, one day the Prophet ﷺ, he was making tawaf around the Kaaba. And Al-Aswad ibn Muttalib, and Al-Walid ibn Mughira, and Umayyah bin Khalaf, and Al-As ibn Wa'il. And they were the people who were they were the leaders. They were the leaders. They came to the Prophet ﷺ, they said, Ya Muhammad, why don't you worship 1 year what we worship, and you worship what we worship? Then we'll be fair. There's no problems between us. So if your worship is good, we'll get a portion of it. And if our religion is good, you'll get a portion of it. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed the verses, or the surah in fact, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Say, O you who are disbelievers, لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. I do not worship what you worship. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. And you do not worship what I worship. وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدْتُمْ. I shall never worship what you worship. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. You shall never worship what I worship. لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ. You have your religion, I have mine. You have your religion, I have mine. Like we said yesterday, it is complete respect. You show respect for the other religion, but the truth is also plain and straightforward. Your religion is not mine. We're different actually. And I will never follow your religion, just like you never follow mine. So either you accept mine, and that is the truth, or keep your religion, I'll keep mine. And that is what that surah or those verses were revealed. Also from the things they tried to do, this was now the end of the 4th year, we're going to the 5th year, 6th year, 7th year, 8th year now. Because they saw that this means they're not working. Every now and then, someone becomes Muslim. Not a lot, but every now and then, someone becomes Muslim. The number was ever growing, it was never decreasing. The number was ever growing, it was never decreasing. It was not like 10 people every day become Muslim. No, it was less than that. But it was always growing. And the fact that people are ready to listen, that bothered them a lot. That bothered them a lot. So what did they start to do now? They started to go into physical torture, abuse, persecutions. We talked about 3 or 4 ways. They were all verbal. They used to call him names. They used to say what? These are just tales of the old. They used to compare the two religions, contrast. We just mentioned, they used to do what? They say, let's compromise. And what was the 4th one we mentioned yesterday? 3 ways they used. What was the 4th one? We mentioned 2 or 3 yesterday. I think it was 2. They used to say these are tales of old. Someone is just teaching you. Someone is just teaching you. When that would not work, they started physical torture, abuse. So some of the things they used to do, because they were shaken. Now they were shaken. Now they knew that those who are thinking, don't worry, he's just going to say what he says. In a few years, it will all disappear. That's it. Now they saw that, okay, there's cause for alarm. And he is not giving up. He is not giving up. I will mention the names of the main criminals of that time. Those who used to really persecute and torture the Muslims. Again, it might be difficult for you to memorize, and that is why we have the recordings. Number one, we have his own uncle, like we said, Abu Lahab. And Abu Lahab, obviously, he died after the Battle of Badr, as we're going to see. Number two, we have his own cousin, Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith. Abu Sufyan, this is not Abu Sufyan ibn Harb, who will later become Muslim, no. This is the cousin of the Prophet. Al-Harith is the brother of Abu Lahab and Abdullah, the father of the Prophet, the Prophet ﷺ. The son of Al-Harith, Abu Sufyan, he was also one of those who used to persecute the Muslims, even though he would become Muslim 2 years before the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Another one was Utbah bin Rabi'ah and his brother Shayba bin Rabi'ah. And these two criminals, terrorists, they were killed in the Battle of Badr. Another one was Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt. He was also killed in the Battle of Badr. You'll see that most of these criminals, we're going to come to it soon actually, they were promised by the Prophet ﷺ. They were promised, their death was promised. So we have Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt. And then we have Abu Sufyan ibn Harb, who later on will become who? The leader of the Quraysh, so the enemy of Islam. But later on he'll become who? No, I don't want to know. I know that. Very good. He'll become the father-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, because the Prophet would marry who? Habiba, her name is Ramla, bint Abi Sufyan. And also we have Al-Hakam ibn Abi al-As ibn Umayyah. Al-Hakam ibn Abi al-As ibn Umayyah, who also became Muslim later on. Then we have An-Nadr ibn Harith, who was killed in the after the Battle of Badr. We have Abu al-Bakhtari, and Abu al-Bakhtari was also killed in the Battle of Badr. We have Abu Jahl, obviously. Abu Jahl, the Prophet ﷺ, as we're going to see soon, he called him the Fir'aun of this ummah because of how evil he was. Abu Jahl, he was killed in the Battle of Badr. Then we have Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. He was killed in the Battle of Badr. Al-As ibn Wa'il. Al-As ibn Wa'il, he was killed in the Battle of Badr. But his son is who? Amr al-As, who will become a great Muslim, even though he was also an enemy of Islam. And his son was who? Abdullah bin Amr al-As, who became one of the greatest Muslims. So look how Allah chooses. From the worst enemies came the best Muslims. Subhanallah. Also we have Umayyah ibn Khalaf, who was one of the worst terrorists, killed in the Battle of Badr. Also we have Ubay ibn Khalaf, who was his brother. He was also killed in the Battle of Uhud, though, not in Badr. And he is the only man, or he was one of the people, the Prophet ﷺ killed him with his own hands in the battle. He actually tried to kill the Prophet ﷺ. He was killed by the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet said, the most evil person is the one who's killed by a Prophet. This is Ubay bin Khalaf. And then we have Al-Aswad ibn al-Muttalib, who was killed in the Battle of Badr, and Al-Aswad ibn Abd Yaghuth, killed in the Battle of Badr. That is why you as a Muslim, if you can understand just before and during and after the Battle of Badr, you can know a lot about Islam. So these are 16 of the main criminals. Now we're going to discuss their actions. They were the worst people to the believers. They were the worst people to the believers. Others, they used to torture the Muslims also, but these are the main criminals. These are the main criminals. And Abu Jahl especially, he used to be the one who instigates other people to actually persecute and torture the Muslims. So it was not verbal anymore. Now it was a physical abuse. Now it was a physical abuse. Examples of that. Examples of that. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he says, the first 7 people to show Islam outwardly to profess that we are Muslims. Remember, it was all hidden until now. Yes, the Prophet is calling people to Islam, but no one is out there saying, I'm a Muslim. You can't do that. Your life is threatened. But the Prophet ﷺ, he can do that. Why? Because Allah is protecting him. And after that, he has the backup protection of his uncle. But the rest, they could not do that. So Ibn Mas'ud, he says, the first 7 people to yes. This is after open preaching. It was only the Prophet ﷺ who would preach outwardly. Them, the Muslims, the followers, they would not show their Islam because they were told not to. It's too hostile, it's too dangerous. Only the Prophet ﷺ and maybe Abu Bakr. Why? Remember he said this. You're from a major tribe of Quraysh. Nobody can touch you, basically. Because again, they used to fear each other. So if they came to someone like Abu Bakr, who's Fihri, right? He's from Banu Fihr. Yes. They say, no, you can't touch him. You think if you touch him, his tribe is going to leave you? They were all together. But at the end, the tribal lines were still there. Yeah, we can't just go touch him. His tribe is going to come running, fighting. They used to know that. That is why we say those who are not from Mecca, Meccan tribes, Quraysh especially, those who are slaves, they got it worse. They got it worse. So Ibn Mas'ud, he says, the first 7 people to display the Islam. So this is the 6th, 7th, 8th year we're going to now. This is now the open call. As you see, the Prophet ﷺ is walking in the marketplaces, calling people openly. I summarized the secret call because there isn't a lot to talk about. Ibn Mas'ud, he said 7 of them. Abu Bakr, Ammar, and his mother Sumayya, Suhaib, Bilal, and Al-Biqdad. As for the Prophet ﷺ, then his uncle and his tribe, especially his uncle, they protected him. As for Abu Bakr, his tribe protected him. As for the rest, they used to put on them iron clocks. You know what a clock is? C-L-O-A-K. Not a clock as a watch. A robe. You don't know what a robe is? Oh, come on. You know, why are you doing this then? Oh, okay. Where's that country when they do this actually means yes? No, come on, you guys racist, man. Those are my people. They don't do this, yeah. They do just the small head shake. Ali, it's just this. No, I learned somewhere, read somewhere, there's a country where if they do this, it actually means yes. And this means no. I thought you're from there, sorry. They would put on them iron robes, or iron clocks, the right word is clock in English. And they would put them out into the sun of Arabia, in the desert. In the desert. 50 degrees. Last time I was in Mecca, it was 38 degrees at Fajr. Fajr, 4:30 a.m. It was 38 degrees. Imagine being put out in the desert with an iron clock on you. So the heat on top of the heat. And they would put them out in the sun for the whole day. Just that they can say we are not Muslim anymore. And this hadith is reported by Imam Ahmad, and it is an authentic hadith. Another way they used to punish them, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. His own uncle, Al-Hakam ibn Abi al-As, he used to take him and tie him and tell him, are you going to leave the religion of your father? He says, yes, I'm Muslim. He'll say to him, then I'll never untie you. I'll never untie you. Az-Zubair ibn Awam, who we have known is the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His uncle used to take him and wrap him in a mat made of fibers basically, not plastic. Usually we use either the palm leaves. They would wrap him in it completely, like he's in a carpet, and then they would light a fire under him and tell him, irji' al-kufr, come back to kufr. And Zubair would say, la akfuru abadan, I will never commit kufr. Then we have the woman called Zannira. She's one of those women who used to be punished, radiallahu anha. She used to be a slave, and Abu Bakr passed by her once and saw her owner punishing her. And she's one of those many slaves we talked about yesterday. Abu Bakr bought their freedom and let them free. Why? Because they used to be persecuted. Zannira, her owner used to punish her until she became blind. And the Quraysh will torture her, abuse her, bully her, saying to her, you became blind because you disbelieved in Lat and Uzza. And she will say, La wallahi, only Allah is the one who made me like this. And as a miracle, Allah gave her sight back. This is Zannira. Also from those who used to be punished is Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Mus'ab was one of those fine gentlemen of Mecca, from a very rich family. Mus'ab was only known, he was only famous for one thing. He wore the most expensive clothes and he had the best perfume on him. That is the only thing people knew Mus'ab for. They didn't know him for his talk or for his wealth, no. They knew him for his most expensive clothes and the best perfume. Young man, 16, 17, 18. But he became Muslim. When he became Muslim, his mother turned on him and they tied him. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, just to show you how he was, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَا رَأَيْتُ بِمَكَّةَ أَحَدًا أَحْسَنُ لِمَّا وَلَا أَرَقُّ حُلَّةً وَلَا أَنْعَمَ نِعْمَةً مِنْ مُصْعَبٍ عُمَيْرٍ. I never saw someone who had the best hair done and the best clothes than Mus'ab bin Umair. Yet when he became Muslim, and he became Muslim when the Prophet ﷺ was doing the secret call in the house of who? Al-Arqam. He entered the house of Al-Arqam, he accepted Islam. When his mother found out, and that is through Uthman ibn Talha, when he saw him, he saw him praying. Uthman ibn Talha. And Uthman ibn Talha, he's going to become a Muslim. Uthman ibn Talha is the one who, he had the keys to the Kaaba. We're going to discuss that. Uthman ibn Talha ibn Abi Talha. When he saw him praying, he went to his mother, said, your son has become Muslim, Sabi. Your son has become Sabi. So his mother took away all the fine things he had and put him into a cell, a jail in the house. Until the day he found a way to escape, and he escaped to Habash, Abyssinia. Another one was the woman called An-Nahdiyya. An-Nahdiyya and her daughter. An-Nahdiyya was also a slave for Banu Abdiddar. One time Abu Bakr passed by them while the owner was overlooking her, making her work so hard, saying to her, I'll never let you free. I'll never let you free. Now imagine if you're a slave and then your owner says, I'll never let you free. That is enough bullying and torture. When Abu Bakr saw that, he said, Hilya Fulan. He said to the woman, the owner of the slave, he said, how much do you want? She said, this amount. And Abu Bakr paid right away. And she said, you have spoiled my slave. He said, I have bought them.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
An-Nahdiyya and her daughter, and they are free today.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
After that, we have from the other ways or other pictures of how they used to torture and persecute the Muslims. We have the story of Sa'id ibn Zayd, which I touched on yesterday. Who is Sa'id bin Zayd? We said he is the cousin of Umar and also his brother-in-law, because he was married to Fatima bint Khattab. Sa'id, he says us in Sahih al-Bukhari, you should have seen me before in Mecca. When Umar was not a Muslim yet, he would tie me. He would tie me and lock him up as a way of punishing him for being a Muslim. And also, from those who used to be tortured was, of course, all of us know the story of Bilal. Bilal ibn Abi Rabah, or Bilal ibn Rabah. His owner, Umayyah bin Khalaf, he would take him out into the desert and put him out on the hot sand of the desert of Mecca, and then call for a huge stone which will be put on his chest. All of that just to make him change his religion. All of that just to make him change his religion. And they would say to him, either you disbelieve in Muhammad and believe in Lat and Uzza, or we'll continue doing this. And Bilal, all he said was, Ahadun, Ahadun. Allah is one, Allah is one. Also from those who are tortured and persecuted, of course, we know, is the family of Al Yasir, the father of Ammar and his mother and himself. They used to take them out, Abu Jahl and others, they used to take them out again into the desert sand and punish them into the hot desert of Arabia. And we know that Yasir, his father of Ammar, he died while being tortured and persecuted. And as for Sumayya, she was stabbed. She was stabbed by Abu Jahl and she died. And that is why she is considered the first shaheed in Islam, the first martyr in Islam. So the first Muslim was a woman, and the first shaheed martyr was a woman. As for Ammar, they continued torturing him, and because he was young, they would force him to say things about the Prophet ﷺ and about Islam. And he could not take the torture, so sometimes he would give in and say what they want to say, or what they want him to say. And he would come running to the Prophet ﷺ crying. And the Prophet would say, Ma wara'uk, what happened to you, Ammar? And he, radiallahu anhu, said, Sharrun, evil. Evil. They did not leave me until I said what they want me to say. And he would be crying. He would be crying. And the Prophet ﷺ would say to him, كيف تجد قلبك? How did you find your heart? Meaning those words you said about me, about Islam, about now you're worshipping idols. How did you find your heart? Did they come from your heart? He said, no. He said, قلبي مطمئن بالإيمان. My heart is still firm, calm on Iman. And Allah revealed the verses in Surah Al-Nahl, من كفر بالله من بعد إيمانه إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان ولكن من شرح للكفر صدرا. Allah says, whoever says words which are opposing Islam, but he was tortured, persecuted into that, forced to save his life, he said those words. There's nothing wrong with him as long as in his heart he doesn't believe in them. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said to him, وَإِنْ عَادُوا فَعُدْ. If they do it again, say it again. Don't worry, to save your life. But you can imagine someone who his father has just been killed just because he was Muslim. And his mother was just stabbed just because he was Muslim. The kind of trauma and the real torture they used to inflict on the Muslims. Also, from the Muslims who used to be tortured is Abu Fukayha. And Abu Fukayha, they used to take him out in the middle of the sun again and tie him in chains of iron, and they would drag him in the hot sand of the desert. And then they would put on him a huge stone until he loses his consciousness. Also, though, from those who used to be tortured like that is Khalid ibn Sa'id ibn al-As. Khalid ibn Sa'id ibn al-As. He used to pray with the Prophet ﷺ outside of Mecca. It reached one of his relatives called Abu Uhayha, who brought him and said to him, you have to leave the religion of Muhammad. He said no. So he hit him. He hit him with a shield or an iron until it broke on his head. And then he commanded that he be chained and dragged into a jail or a prison. Until he stayed in Mecca 3 days, he does not drink any water. He found a way to escape and he escaped. Also, from those who used to be punished was Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and the test he faced with his mother. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas is one of the first believers, and Sa'd is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ from his mother's side. Sa'd, when he became Muslim, his mother came to him and said to him, you say your religion tells you to respect your parents, especially your mother. He said, yes. He said, then I am your mother. Either you leave your religion or I will not test any food or water. I will never test any food or water until I die. فَتُعَيِّرُكَ بِالْعَرَبِ. And all the Arabs will speak evil about you, you killed your own mother. That is psychological torture. I will not eat until I die, and then all of the Arabs, they will shame you forever. You killed your mother. So Sa'd said, don't do that. I will never leave this religion. Of course, he was shaken, Sa'd, because this is his own mother. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses about him. And this is the beginning of Surah 2, Luqman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. Husna. We have commanded the human being to do well to his parents. وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. But if they are on their own parents, they command you to commit shirk, don't obey them. وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. But live with them in this worldly life in good. Do good to them. But if they command you to leave Islam, don't do that. This was revealed for Sa'd and for every Muslim after that. Sa'd, he went back to his mother and said, "Oh my mother, if you had 100 souls and each one of them came out after another, meaning you died 100 times, I will never leave this religion." So she saw how he's so strong in his religion, and she went back to eating and drinking, obviously. But this shows you the psychological torture they used to face also. And from those who used to be punished more maybe than anyone else was the Sahabi called Khabbab ibn al-Arat. Khabbab was one of the weak Muslims. They used to take him into the desert, and then they would light a fire. They'll put coals of fire on the ground, and they would take off his clothes and put him laying down on the fire. He says, "Khabbab, and then someone will step on my chest, and they will only take me out once the fire goes out." And he used to have those marks. After the Prophet ﷺ died, there's hadith in Sahih Bukhari, some of the tabi'un, they said, "We saw one day Khabbab, he took out his shirt and we saw those marks." They used to actually put him on a fire. He says another narration, the only thing which will put out the fire is the fluids or whatever comes out from my body. That is why Harith ibn Mudarrib, he says, "I do not know anyone who was punished more than Khabbab ibn al-Arat." And one day Ali ibn Abi Talib, he passed by the grave of Khabbab. He said, "May Allah have mercy on Khabbab." He became Muslim fully, and he migrated dutifully, and he lived fighting for Allah's religion, and he was tortured in his body. He faced physical harm and torture, but Allah has not let his reward go. So these are just some of the few images or examples of how the Muslims were tortured, persecuted in Mecca. It was physical, it was psychological, and as you see, they used to do it enjoying it. They used to do it enjoying it. And what is the sin which these people committed? That they are Muslims. That they are Muslims. So there's a lot for us to learn in this. But one simple thing, I will not go into depth, one thing only to learn. That if we are going to face difficulties, I'm not going to say even torture, if we are going to face difficulties for just being Muslims, let us remember what they went through. Let us remember what they went through. And that never made them change their religion. It is not meant to be easy. Being a Muslim is the best thing, it's the only thing which will save you, but it's meant to be a test. And there's people who faced greater tests than us. We will continue after Salatul Dhuhr, inshaAllah.
Allahu, 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 Allah.